Pretty soon we'll be laughing about it. Yeah, it's alright. I've always got my family of me. Might be around. Salutations, everyone. My name is Wyatt.
And I'm Rhett.
And you are with the Brower Brothers. How have you all been? How are you doing? Hold that thought. We have a very special guest, a very special episode of the podcast today. You just going to sit there in silence? Dumbfounded? You still stuck on salutations?
Yes, it was.
It's like aloha. It means hello and goodbye.
A very special guest indeed. Very near and dear to our heart. It is our cousin, Conlin.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
We are joined by Conlin J. Wysocki,
a.k.a.
the Sox.
Or, as you all know in high school, C-Dub Sox.
No.
No? Okay.
I don't recognize that name except
I reject
in video
that.
games.
But thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure seeing you out here in the lovely West Coast. It's quite an interesting and exciting experience, and I'm glad to be on this lovely podcast.
Conlin has been friends and family with us for like 2 decades.
And some change.
He's a year older than us. He's super cool. He works with race cars. He has like an 11-inch hog.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
Monster hog.
World famous. And today we're going to talk about something near and dear to us as a family.
A movie that shaped our childhood.
That defined our youth. Conlin, what movie are we covering today?
This is from DreamWorks Animations. It is Over the Hedge.
You heard it, everyone. Starring Bruce Willis as a raccoon, and Gary Shandling as a turtle. This is a movie about pollution, family, and begs the question, how do we interact with our environment?
Yeah, it's a very heavy movie indeed.
And so we're going to jump right in. For those of you who haven't seen this movie, go out and watch it. But this is Over the Hedge.
Somewhere in rural Indiana, a raccoon stirs in the night. He carries a bag of tools, including a T-Rex hand grabber, a boomerang, and anything else you could dream of. The creature is doing his best to snag a bag of chips out of a vending machine off a highway truck stop. But, unfortunately for the creature, the bag refuses to budge. But, fortunately for the hungry raccoon, the mouth of a cave catches his eye. Climbing up the mountainside, he sees wrappers of candy, boxes of pizza, and several signs reading, "Do not feed the bear." Sneaking inside, the raccoon tells himself to just take what he needs before loading every piece of food in the cave onto a massive wagon. But before he leaves, his greed and his hubris get the best of him. For in the paw of the bear is a full can of Spuddies. Grabbing an empty coffee cup, he attempts to Indiana Jones switcheroo the cup with the can of Spuddies, doing so with ease, before opening the chips in front of the sleeping bear. The hiss of the can wakes the bear and leaves the raccoon, whose name is RJ, in a world of trouble. And to make matters worse, as RJ attempts to explain away the act of theft the bear woke up to, he accidentally knocks the wagon of food down the hill and into the street, only for a massive truck to run over the wagon and destroy the entire haul. The bear, who has a week of hibernation left to sleep through, tells RJ that by the time he wakes up, all the food better be back, or else the raccoon will be hunted down and executed.
You know what I want to talk about before we get into the breakdown of this paragraph, or this first part of the thing? The menu games for this movie.
I was waiting to talk about the menu games.
I mean, this is the perfect time to talk about the menu games because one of the games was right here in this scene. I don't know if you guys remember, maybe not the games, but the DVD menu.
DVD menu games were the shit.
Bring them back. Bring back DVDs, honestly.
You know when this movie came out?
2005?
6.
Wow.
May 19th.
We are old. We are old. Kids, when we were young watching this movie, kids now can't even comprehend the DVD menus.
Menu games.
Do you guys remember Shrek 2's American Idol?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
That was the best video game ever made, I think.
It was
Shrek
up
2
there.
American Idol game.
And this was up there too. One of the, I don't know if it was one of the games or if it was just the animation that was like while you waited, like before you did scene selection, or was another one like
scene selection is something I miss because
tool.
When you watch something on like a streaming platform and you have to not rewind or fast forward all the way to the point, that's annoying. And then you go past it or you don't make it to it. Scene selection was easy.
When I was a boy, even now, I'm a huge Godzilla fan. But when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I'm not sitting through an entire Japanese drama. Scene selection allowed me to be a fan of that franchise. Otherwise, I would not be. It's same with Star Wars. I wouldn't sit through a whole Star Wars movie. I could skip right to the action.
Well, I mean, you would, but not all. Not like we would watch scenes from movies all day, every day. It was just
That's what I mean.
constant flow of changing the DVD, going to scene selection, and watching certain scenes of movies.
Jump somewhere in Act 3 and we're golden.
Yeah. We would watch the equivalent of 3 movies, but definitely like 8 movies worth because we would just watch scenes of movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's even like let's go off of that too. Like the DVDs had like pre-ads for other movies in the beginning before you even watch the film, or
Yeah.
like for Disney they had like the fast play function. Like, you know what, you can watch the opening credits to other movies, and then if you hit fast play, it goes right to the menu, which like. Not that you want that to be at home for
fast
streaming.
play. See, that
but-
was the tricky thing with the DVD, the Disney is fast play would show you the ads. You had to go to main menu. Fast play would show you the commercials for their other movies, but main menu would take you to the main menu. It was very devious.
Would you want that though for streaming?
Ads?
No, like the like the preview movies.
HBO
prior
has
to it.
that.
It does?
Yeah, every time you watch something on HBO, when you click on it, there's a skippable like minute ad for other HBO shows.
Oh. I don't got HBO, so I'm poor, I guess. I
Do you
don't know.
guys remember...
Poor ass.
Get on our level, dude. Do you guys remember the coming soon to a theater near you ad that was on
Oh,
DVDs?
yes. Classic.
We've gone on a tangent. Either way, this DVD menu, a lot of DVD menus were really cool, but this one was fun because it was like, wasn't it like him trying to get the bag of chips for the whole thing?
He does a lot of like neat tricks to try to get
Yeah,
the
the
bag
scene
of chips.
selection was the vending machine.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
The scene selection, like the scenes were in the vending machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so friggin' clever.
And then the bonus disc had all the games to play with your remote.
You guys ever come across a DVD case that only had the bonus disc in it?
It's a blessing and a curse.
That's
really.
like I've never once more wanted to like destroy the world than coming
That's
across.
always the worst when you lose your DVD.
And it's just like the bonus features. Ugh.
Now, breaking down this opening sequences that happened to RJ, what tool was your favorite that he tried to get the chips out of the vending machine?
T-Rex,
T-Rex hand always.
Really?
I
The
wish they used
boomerang
it
was
more.
good too.
I like the boomerang ones because it had the effect of like you get the idea of what he's trying to do. Why not throw it straight at the machine instead of having to throw it directly behind you to come back and hit it?
It's
Like, is there gonna be more? Is
Well,
there
if he
like?
just threw it straight at the machine, then it would be like throwing a rock at the machine. The whole idea of a boomerang is that it comes back.
I have a
like,
question.
Wouldn't it be more force though to use a straight rock than like to come back? Because don't you lose force coming back just out of the
Not
physics?
when you're using boomerang.
I don't know physics, so I couldn't answer that.
I have a question. Okay, so Vern and Company, the other animals, they spend the whole year, we're going to get to it, but they spend the whole year collecting food to eat before hibernation, and then they start again. Why did the bear have food after hibernation?
That's always been a confusing part of the story for me. The story. The story. Because yeah, I thought they gathered food to eat during hibernation, because then they're like, oh, we only had 9 berries left. We would have starved in the log.
Yeah.
And you see
Still a
too,
log.
like, granted RJ wakes him up, but like still he has all that food, and you'd think it should be gone by now. But he wakes up.
Maybe the
It's
bear
like,
just
oh.
hogs a ton of food. Maybe he had way more food up there, because there was wrappers and shit. So he had
That
been
is
eating.
true.
I just don't get
They
why
were
he went
overthinking
back
it.
to sleep. Like, why did he have to wait for the full moon? Like, we'll get to this part next, because like the other animals are already awake.
True. Yeah, the bear's the last one to get up.
Have you ever like gotten up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom and like you have to try and stay asleep?
That's the worst.
He did
Try to stay
that
asleep
fighting
while
a
you're
raccoon.
Standing up.
I'm gonna go back to sleep, and if I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna hunt you down.
I'm
and
gonna wake
kill
up and
you.
I'm gonna kill you.
I'm gonna kill you. Weird music plays as the raccoon makes his way to the nearby suburban housing development in search for help from other animals to save his life. And soon he stumbles across a group of woodland creatures. Led by a turtle named Vern, the animals, which consist of possums, porcupines, a squirrel, and a skunk, live in a log and spend their entire year filling it up with food in order to sustain everyone through the winter. And with the vast forest around them, it usually isn't all that hard. However, this year things are different. Instead of lush wilderness, they soon realize that the massive forest is a lot smaller than it once was. The squirrel, Hammy, played by legendary Steve Carell, discovers a massive hedge that surrounds their forest home. This was not there just a few months prior, and the creatures have no idea what is on the other side. That is until Vern takes one step across the hedge and is met with a world of ass kicking.
You know what kind of bothers me about, well, not bothers me, but like it finds me intrigued about this?
What?
So the animal's been asleep, and this development just happens over winter, supposedly, because where it takes place is like somewhere in the Midwest.
When they zoom out of the earth to show the Dorito Blast and the Pelter Turbo 9000, it does show like Indiana or Ohio.
It's one of
so
the
it's
two.
somewhere
Yeah.
in the Midwest.
But like, wouldn't the animals at least hear or acknowledge all of that machinery, and like how would the machinery get all the development in to that place?
They had gotten to the point where the houses were complete and people were living in them too.
Yeah.
Like, had been living in them, it seemed like.
So
The construction of
this little group
El
of
Rancho
of-
Park, or whatever it's called, they're amazing.
I think it's El Rancho Camelot.
El Rancho Cucamonga.
Nice.
What a combination too, like El Rancho and Camelot. It's a mixture of two different,
What's El Rancho?
The
Camelot.
ranch.
like the ranch,
Oh, the ranch
and then Camelot is
is fantasy stuff.
yeah.
Sick ass.
You know what's another good
It's
movie?
Mexicans
Off
and
topic?
Brits.
Sword in the Stone.
Not just Sword in the Stone, but Quest for Camelot.
Oh, dude.
That movie rocks. Should have done that.
You've been warned, America.
Quest for
what
Camelot
a
2 is
movie.
coming.
Now I feel
If
bad
I
for
didn't
Vern in this
have you.
because
What was the song that the guy sang in that one? The blind guy?
Oh,
Something incredibly good, really.
you once we know what it is, it'll be in my head all day.
I feel like I watched that movie recently and sang that song
We did.
for a
We
month.
watched it with Jason, and that song was like on Spotify. Like that was listened to.
yeah, for us the theme of this vacation.
It was about being on your own.
Oh
I will
shoot.
fly upon my father's wings.
That's it.
I stand alone.
Yes.
I feel bad for Vern in this,
The turtle.
or like this opening sequence, like the amount of stuff that he went through just in the span of like 45 seconds with humans.
Yeah, he gets beat up.
Yeah, but he was kind of a dick in the previous scene.
He's
Wait
kind
a
of
second,
dick.
Hammy. He was like when he was trying
He's like a bitchy teacher.
He's a douche is what
Yeah,
he
he
is.
is
He's like
a
an
douche.
English teacher for sure.
I know they're supposedly family. We didn't even talk about that yet. The family is like the rejects of the
Animal Kingdom.
the Animal Kingdom. It's so to give you guys context here. The Hammy, who is the played by Steve Carell, he's a squirrel, and this squirrel is fast as I can curse,
It's like-
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
This
this
is R-rated.
squirrel, this squirrel is absolutely fast as fuck, and he's the one who finds the whole hedge thing.
This
This
quote
thing-
hedge.
what they call a hedge.
But they don't know what's it called. They just say that Steve
RJ
Carell.
tells him it's
Well-
called a hedge.
But like they think it's a bush, and then beyond the bush is the humans.
Well, they call it Steve. Steve Carell names it Steve.
True.
It's a pretty
It's
name.
a pretty name.
But yeah, so Steve's one of the animals, is squirrel.
Steve
There's
Carell.
two
Hammy.
possums. I don't remember what.
One
what were
is
they?
called I don't know. It's William Shatner and Avril Lavigne.
Yeah,
There's-
that's what's important about it.
Yeah.
There's two possums, a family of
Porcupines.
porcupines.
Midwestern porcupines.
Vern the turtle, and then
A skunk.
there's a skunk.
Stella.
Stella. In a state of panic, the creatures have no answer for the new situation they find themselves in. They hadn't ever seen humans before, and now they are totally surrounded by them. They have no idea what they're doing, but luckily for them, somebody does. Making his grand entrance, RJ the raccoon reveals himself. He is charming and cool and seems to know a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff. He has clearly been places. The animals instantly fall in love with him as he takes them over the hedge and into the land of the humans, teaching them to eat out of the garbage cans and dumpsters. food is a lot better than their own, and they soon realize what they've been missing.
What does RJ stand for? Is it Raccoon Joe? Raccoon Jimmy?
I don't know. He's a snake oil salesman, though. He's
a
like
total con artist.
He's a con artist.
It's called a hedge.
And if we were incels, we would describe him as a grifter.
I think my favorite part of this sequence is RJ opening the bag of nacho chips.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of, granted, I know it's an animation
explosion
film.
that happens. It's funny.
It's nuts. And also the family, I know Vern treats them like his own, like he's a teacher, and their family is like the school kids, but like they're so gullible.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He stalked these people for like a day before he interacted with them.
Yeah.
Imagine if he was an actual predator.
Yeah, imagine if he wanted to kill one of them or all of them.
It would have been very easy to do.
However, Vern the turtle isn't liking any of this, claiming that his all-knowing tail is tingling. He does his best to get rid of RJ and the way of life the raccoon is pushing onto his family. But the people have spoken, and they want the new guy to stay. And although Vern has his suspicions, he can't exactly prove that RJ is a bad guy. Besides, with the lack of forest, if they don't figure something out soon, they're all going to die. So human food it is.
Dude, Vern is one of the biggest manipulators I've ever seen in a kid's movie. He gets all these people to just do everything he says because he has a supposed magical power. Like
he's like,
ooh, my tail's tingling.
He's like a cult leader.
Yeah, he's like a cult leader. He's like what's that guy in history, Nostradamus, who like allegedly could see the future, and he apparently can if you ask certain people. But like it's the same type of deal. Like, I'm magical. Listen to me. Don't do that. Don't do this. Listen to me. My tail is tingling.
My tail is tingling.
Not to mention the, I get his tail tingle, but also the sob story that RJ tells the family to get them to like bring him into the family with the weed hacker incident.
Weed hacker, Vern.
The weed hacker.
Well, they're both manipulators. That's probably why they become the best of buddies by the end of the movie.
Because they know how to take
real
control.
Recognize real.
Who do you think would be the worst manipulator then out of the two? Would it be RJ or Vern?
Vern. His front tail is tingling.
But really though, Vern?
Yeah, Vern.
But
Vern wants power for the sake of power. RJ wants power for the sake of survival. Vern just wants people to listen to him. It's weird. It's a creepy thing.
that is true.
Like it. Over the next chunk of the film, RJ does his best to trick his new friends into doing his bidding. Operating under the assumption that all of the food is going to fill the log, he convinces all the woodland creatures to risk their lives to gather on his behalf. All the while, the raccoon checks things off the list and prepares to take the haul back to the bear cave. Vern, on the other hand, is struggling with the new power dynamic. Nobody seems to look to the turtle for help, wisdom, or guidance anymore. RJ's the new hotshot, and Vern doesn't like it one bit. So one day, when the wagon of food is nearly full, Vern decides to return it.
So petty. Vindictive of Vern.
In a way, they're both kind of selfish, but for the different reasons. RJ and Vern.
Yeah, they are. RJ, he's literally scamming these poor fools. And Vern is like, he's just pissed because RJ is respected amongst the community.
Vern would rather have his family eating bark.
He literally fed them bark.
It's like, oh, guys, wow, super nutritious.
After RJ gave them Doritos, he's like, let's eat the bark and get rid of this raccoon.
And everybody is such a, like... I mean, it's funny that they're animals, but they're all sheep. Like, they were feeding their kids the bark. Oh, what's the... Oh, just eat it down now.
Yeah,
you're going to like it.
Porcupines.
All right, guys, chase for breakfast. Now,
Shape up.
Shape up. The turtle says to do it, so do it.
The turtle, yeah. The only non-mammal in the story.
Come on now, his tail's tingling.
so out of the, I guess the food heists that we've seen up until this point, which like sequence of the heists is like your favorite?
Of the heist?
I like the Rottweiler in the next scene.
I liked the hammy
You said
rabbit
squirrel.
I'm a crazy rabbit squirrel.
Yeah, the hammy rabbit
That's
squirrel's
the
funny
best
too.
one.
I also like it every time that Vern is knocked out of his shell
You see his
when he's
butt?
naked and you see his butt. It's so funny.
Not we didn't talk about this in the beginning too, but like when Vern first went over to the humans thing, the amount of actual statue or like animal figurines he's seen too, I'm sure that probably creeped him out a lot. I don't know, just a callback right there.
Agreed, but there's no more we need to discuss about that.
True. RJ catches the turtle, and the two engage in a bit of a struggle before an absolute disaster ensues, accidentally making their way into the domain of a canine beast. The raccoon and turtle must run for their lives as a fun-seeking dog chases after them. Their wagon eventually is launched into the air before falling back to the street and exploding on impact. All the food is gone. There's a new schism between RJ, Vern, and the group, and things got a whole lot worse for the raccoon. You know, one thing we've missed out or haven't talked about yet that's kind of key to this plot is the quote-unquote Karen, human of the film.
That's the next paragraph.
Mm-hmm. The Karen, the original Karen, is from Over the Hedge.
What's her name again? It begins with a G.
Gladys Sharp is her name.
Yeah. Hi, it's Gladys Sharp.
The president of the Homeowners Association. Hi. She's the worst.
She's a bitch.
So we see her first driving a car. She has the altercation with the neighbor about the animals, how they're like a distress to society.
A scourge to society is what she calls them.
Is that what she said?
I think so.
Wow.
It was like she even refers to the animals as a pandemic at one point in time, which is absolutely insane.
Funny.
You know, I'm just now. Wheels are spinning here. This movie stole the fuck out of Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Word for word, bar for bar.
They stole its whole flow. It's the same thing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, what came out first? Fantastic Mr.
Oh,
Fox?
Fantastic Mr. Fox.
or
by
Roald Dahl.
Hedge. Decades.
Yeah.
Fantastic Mr. Fox was a book first.
Oh.
It is. It's just animals stealing from humans.
It's
Except
just it's
instead
a
of
modern
3,
day.
instead of Bogus, Bunsen, and Beans, it's just this lady 3 times.
Gladys. Do they only steal food from her place? I guess it is.
No, but they steal from her multiple times.
Yeah. I mean, and her house is the closest. It's right across the hedge. They live in her backyard, basically.
Basically. We didn't even talk about the scene. Vern he destroyed all the food. He stole it. His family gathered all the food that they would need for the whole year. He felt like he didn't have purpose anymore. So he disposed of all the food, destroyed it.
See, that's what I mean about Vern. He's worse than RJ.
Yeah, because he just wants power for the sake of power.
He'd rather have his family starve because he doesn't feel happy about himself, whereas RJ would rather have them starve because he's going to die.
Yeah, because RJ wasn't even going to have him starve because he literally gives them the tools to steal it back. They steal enough food for RJ to live in less than a week, so he would have just stolen it and went on with his life. And they would have had the tools to gather more food.
He led a horse to water.
He did. He literally led a horse to water. It was like kind of like a bad lead or an unfaithful lead. He's tricking them, but
yeah. And also, what the fuck, Vern? there was zero stakes for the animals. Like other than RJ, they didn't have a time limit. They just woke up.
And to think now, like, the whole log was full. So the animals thinking, like, oh, we're in the good. We can, like, relax and, like, lounge out for a bit. Or
this is how civilization is made. Once you have an excess of what you need, then you can focus on making it better systems for, like, their community.
They were awake for 1 week, and they filled the log with RJ.
Yes.
And Vern is like, nah, I don't want this blood food, this blood money. But it was only because he didn't come up with it.
Yeah.
Fuck him. He's the worst.
Come on, Vern.
As this has been going on in the animal world, the president of the HOA in the human world, a woman by the name of Gladys Sharp, has been keeping a watchful eye over the behavior of the disgusting, thieving animals, calling in an exterminator, Dwayne LaFont, the Verminator. The two of them set up a massive amount of traps throughout the woman's house in case any animals dare to enter the premises.
This is a pair here. These two, it's a power couple.
Yeah.
Verminator.
Who is hilarious. One of the best movie villains in anything ever.
He's a freak.
You've been verminated.
His sniffing.
Skunk. Squirrel.
Reptile. Amphibian.
No.
Reptile.
He's hilarious. He's the shining light in an already very bright film. He's so good.
You know that he self-proclaimed himself to have an associate's degree from some specialized animal.
Yeah, I heard
School.
that. He said that he had an associate's degree in
What was it?
was it?
Was it pest control or was it like from like a college?
Yeah.
It was a college specialized for like pest control and animal cruelty or whatever.
It's hilarious though. He's a hilarious character.
Not to mention the truck that he drives too. It's literally a human with a
hammer beating a rabbit.
Is he the only person that is he Verminator?
Yeah.
Or is that like a company?
I think
well,
the
he
company.
calls himself the Verminator.
Okay, so that's his personal business, and his logo is the guy with the handsome man
Him.
with the fresh hair.
It looks like him though, beating the rabbit with the hammer, smushing
Yeah.
it with a hammer.
Also, talk about timing. Like when he shows up, we didn't talk about the.
Yeah, it's called structure in a film, Conlin. He shows up at the exact right time. He raises the stakes.
It was really well thought out.
When he shows up, is it before Vern gives the food back? Because aren't they going through a heist to get the blue cooler, and then the possum dies or like plays dead?
He shows up before the food incident. He shows up
Mhm.
somewhere in Act 2. What I've just before
Is he the midpoint? No, the midpoint is when they lose the food again. When they lose the food.
No, that's the Dark Knight of the Soul.
I think I think Wyatt's right. The midpoint
No,
has
the
to
Dark
be-
Knight of the
quite
S-
literally all is lost.
No,
when
the
they lose
Dark Knight of
food.
the Soul is when they get captured by the Verminator.
I think it has the dual climax, brother.
brother.
Oh, brother.
brother.
Because they heist the house, and then they get captured, and then they take control of the car again for a final showdown. I think this bad boy's got a dual climax in Over the Hedge. You don't see that often. Usually in like rapid action movies. This is a kid's film.
This is an action movie.
All seems lost, and RJ is probably gonna die. However, before he gives up completely, he sees the answer to all of his prayers: a busload of food being loaded into Gladys Sharp's house, as a party is on the horizon for the community. That much food could save RJ's life. So, apologizing to Vern without revealing his intentions, the pair break down the game plan to the group and figure out a way to steal all the food in one big score. Want to know how manipulative Vern is? He ruins everything that they've worked hard for, and then he has conditioned them to accept him back with one simple abusive, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you made me do that.
I'm so sorry you made me get rid of it. You pushed me to this.
It's just so I'm so stressed out with work.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
Now, what I like about RJ explaining the plan to the animals of how they're going to do this heist. So two things. One, showing them where all the traps are.
hilarious scene.
You just
Here,
takes
Here.
Here,
It was way longer than
here,
you think it's gonna be
here.
too.
here, and here.
a lot
Here.
over here.
Here, 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 and a few over here. Probably even more than that.
And some more
Oh.
here, and
And
here. He just kept going.
And then the second part is them arguing about the pieces of who's going to be what.
The Monopoly pieces.
The best part about this.
Hilarious.
I'm the car.
I
I'll
never
always
got
be the
that
car.
because in Monopoly, if I ever had to play it, I was more of a shoe man.
I was a thimble guy myself.
Really? You weren't ever the car guy?
No, probably because you were the car guy.
Yeah, you would be the car, or Josiah would have been the car.
I'm always the car. Well, because with what? There's the car, the thimble,
The boots.
the boots. What's the last piece?
Was there a dog?
I think so.
Think about it. If you can't have the car, Monopoly is a travel-based game. I'd at least want a good pair of shoes to walk
Well,
in.
what would you use the thimble for then? If it's like a traveling game,
Hitchhiking. Reflective thumb.
or to like just sew your clothes.
The top hat, the thimble, the iron, the shoe, the battleship, and the cannon.
There's a
That's wrong.
battleship and cannon.
That can't
There
be
was a
right.
cannon.
The
I don't
i-
think we had the piece growing up.
I think the battleship was meant. I think that's supposed to mean to say car.
There was no car.
No, this list doesn't have a car.
Yeah, so I think then like you Googled the game Battleship and it's like a series of race cars sit in the water.
Now, one thing we haven't mentioned, or that I would like to talk about this film, is the quality control that they have about shooting their shots.
The cinematography is good. We forgot to mention it. The rack focuses in this movie are off the chain.
We watched this movie last night, and Conlin was just in awe. Another one. Another rack focus.
I think in the first probably 20, 30 minutes of the film, if that.
It was at least 5 rack focuses.
Yeah. In a way, I guess you can kind of think of that too as seeing the power struggle of RJ and Vern, because a lot of them were of just those two characters, or of Vern or of RJ and the family.
Easy there, Scorsese.
What do you say?
Conlin was explaining that the rack focusing could be like the symbolism of the duality of Vern and RJ, because a lot of the rack focuses were between the two of them.
Could be. That is a good, deep, animated thought.
Well, good observation.
That's for the adults out there watching the movie. That's not kid stuff.
I was too busy playing the hammy games on the DVD remote.
Making them hunt for cookies.
On the bonus disc.
So we're not done with the summary yet, but clearly all the listeners out there who haven't even seen it yet know that this is a quality movie. But as you'll be upset to find out, Over the Hedge didn't win any awards. It won like one award for like weird. It was like a weird like niche best anthropomorphic movie award the year that it came out.
Really?
Yeah. But guess what animated movies came out the same year as Over the Hedge?
In
2006.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Open Season,
That movie rocked.
Happy Feet,
That's good too.
Monster House, and Cars.
Oh man, Over the Hedge. This could be this is a great year for animated movies.
Cars won.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, ranking these movies, I'm not trying to shit on Over the Hedge, but I would go probably Monster House
number 1.
Easy. Then probably Happy
Cars.
Feet, 3/4 of it.
Then
it gets weird.
The last 10 minutes of Happy Feet is weird as hell.
Then Cars, and then probably a tie Open Season and Over the Hedge. They're both great.
But they're all good. They're
They're
all
all good.
A-list movies.
It's hard to rank them, but that Monster House is the best one of the bunch.
You know, I think this is also one of the last years that the animated films are of not human base, because all the ones you listed off are all like animal
all
or animated
yeah, anthropomorphic type
objects. Because after this,
And
you
Cars. And House.
and a house. Yeah,
But
Monster House rocks.
Oh, you
All
know what
those
else
movies are
came
good.
out
The
that
only,
year?
The only reason we didn't do Open Season is because they made
Oh
a
my
ton of
God.
Open Seasons.
That same year. You're not going to believe this. Because these ones were also nominated for awards. Ice Age 2: The Meltdown
That's a good one too.
and Flushed Away.
No way.
Yeah, same year.
That's a good year for animated movies.
2006 is the year.
2006 is goated for animated films.
What I was 6, you guys were 5,
Yeah.
right in the prime of our development.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to turn on TV, the shows that were winning awards on television were Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Family Guy, Danny Phantom,
These are some of my favorite animated shows.
Foster's Home for Imaginary
No
Friend,
way.
Bill and Mandy's Grim Adventures.
Dude.
Yeah, if you
Those
haven't
are all
seen
like my favorite animated shows.
The Ant Bully came out that year too.
Not as good.
Still good.
Still
I
pretty good.
watched it. I've seen it.
I've seen it.
Dodging all the booby traps and making their way into the front door, the animals give the skunk a makeover and send her as a distraction against Gladys's incredibly pampered Persian cat. And the two hit it off, allowing for the animals to enter the house. The heist is nearly complete. That is until Gladys wakes up and catches the animals in her house. The Verminator arrives in the nick of time, firing a net at the bunny slippers on Gladys's feet and missing every other animal in the house. Stella, the skunk, fires her spray in order to distract the humans, and to her surprise, the cat cannot smell a thing. It's true love.
The skunk makeover.
Was pretty bad.
Horrific. As a kid, I was like, oh, I get it. Cork in the ass. As an adult, I'm like, oh, I get it. Cork in the ass. It's horrifying.
You know, they did pick a good actress or actress to voice this character, isn't it?
Politically correct would say that it's actor for all.
Really?
Isn't it?
I think so. I don't know.
Brenda Song. That's her name.
No, it's
No,
Wanda
oh,
Sykes.
Wanda Sykes, sorry.
Brenda Song.
Brenda
Who the
Song?
hell is that?
Isn't that like a
That's just
young
Life of
actor?
that's from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. Wow.
We have to cut that. I don't know if that's racist.
Brenda Song. Asian
No.
woman, I'm pretty sure.
But
There's a lot of funny in this scene.
see, Hammy gets the laser pointer because he gets distracted by the
Yeah.
cookie on the roof.
I like cookie.
Vern gets untrustworthy of RJ during the heist, and he's like giving
Well,
the
Vern,
comparison
he figures out that RJ is a scam artist during the heist because he's like, listen here, motherfucker.
We're good. Let's get out of
Yeah,
here.
well, and
It's not
RJ
like-
was like, hey, I'm actually taking all this to a bear.
It's
And
not like
then
we can walk-
Verminator shows up.
Yeah.
It's not like he can walk on water. He proceeds to do it. But
And,
yeah, you're right. Because like they were good to go. Gladys went back, but he saw the Spuddies.
Gladys went back. Oh, yeah.
Gladys
yeah.
went back to
They
go.
evaded Gladys.
They evaded her, and he saw the Spuddies, which they had to get because if that wasn't on the list for the bear, RJ was dead no matter what. Even
If
if he
this
got.
isn't on the menu, I will be, so let go of my tail.
Yeah.
She fucked up that possum too when
Oh,
she
when
kicked
she kicked it? Yeah. Oh, my God. That possum is durable. She drop kicked that possum. It bounced off a wall.
And then she fake died, but she was probably feeling that.
Well, she didn't. Yeah, she said she fake died, but really she passed out due to internal bleeding and massive organ trauma.
You know, that was quite an odd bonding moment though for the possum because the daughter.
Well, the daughter thought she was too good to play dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So your site was so whatever. For I am Persian.
Yeah.
There's a sex innuendo in that scene.
There's
Really?
And
Yeah,
they
when she
fall in
throws
love
the
because
collar?
at the beginning of there is when she throws the collar to them because she's clearly slipped it off of
He's
him.
naked now.
Yeah, but she at the beginning of the movie they established that they're gonna find the skunk a man, but she's like, oh, he has to have no sense of smell, and then when she skunks up the joint and sprays, he can't smell it because he's got no sense of smell. Because his father's face was so flat he could barely breathe.
It's yet another strong punch of opinion of the filmmakers that human involvement is bad.
Because they bred this cat into
It's like a pug.
yeah, it's like it's so not viable in nature.
Yeah.
Also, quite a life story the cat says because he talks to the skunk all night. He starts off with his name, which means I am Persian. I don't remember. I don't remember what.
I am Persian.
He goes off on a tangent about his entire family story. Mind you, granite cats have like the cliche is they have 9 lives. So like,
oh yeah.
so essentially, if that's year form, it's 9 years. That's a lot
That's
to know.
I thought that it was more metaphorical. The 9 lives.
Well, I'm just putting a number down of like quantifying how old this cat is because he goes off quite a bit on his own personal life and family lineage.
True. But despite their best efforts, they are all locked in crates and thrown in the back of the truck. The only one to make it out alive is RJ, who shamefully drags the cart of food up to the bear. And as he makes his way up the hill, he is surprised to see a very awake bear waiting for him. Watching all the carnage unfold in the suburbs below, calling RJ the most heartless animal there ever was, the bear is happy to take the food back. But RJ realizes that he is tired of being a family of one, and riding the wagon down the hill, he intercepts the Verminator van, jumping onto the windshield. The wagon explodes on impact with the truck, and the bear is mad.
Now, do you think the animals could have gotten away if it wasn't for the glass door on the
No.
patio?
The Verminator catches all
Terminator
animals.
is very skilled at extermination.
But the bear says something here that's really important because when RJ when he steals the food and banishes and sentences all these animals to die because he's a killing exterminator. Yeah, you take the food, they take the fall. Classic RJ. There's clearly a
He's
lot
done
of
this
history
before.
with this bear, and the bear knows that RJ is a fucker.
He's at least tangled with some rough customers in
Yeah.
the past.
And
You take the food, they take the fall. Nick Nolte.
now, if you were in RJ, would you have gone back to save them?
Yeah.
I'd like to think that.
I think I'm more of the possum.
Yeah, I was
than
just
any
gonna
of
say
them.
that. I was about to say I'm a different animal in this situation.
Because I give RJ props because he did like the more human
Oh yeah,
thing.
good for RJ for being a fucker 90% of the movie and being good for 10% of it.
Yeah.
And now, because if he wasn't accepted, or if the family didn't accept him into their own, he wouldn't have even done that.
Oh,
he
so
would've-
you're saying that it's good that that if the family didn't accept you, you would have let them die?
a little bit. I mean, not to say much, not,
Maybe.
but like, because we see in the middle of the film, the family gets this whole setup for RJ based on the sob story that he gives them. Because like he had the whole family, the whole universal remote, and the family does that for him.
But he lied. That was a lie.
True, but that again, in a way, that's
Yeah.
like, that's the reason why he goes back to save them, which is
Everything that he ever wanted.
true. Quote the man himself.
The bear jumps on the van, and in the struggle, the animals take control over the vehicle and allow RJ into the car. They're mad at him at first until Vern explains that he came back to rescue them. But it might be too late. Crashing the van back into Gladys's house, the group of animals make their way back across the hedge. However, by the time they make it there, the bear, which was caught in a pair of massive balloons, has floated back into the forest, waiting for them to come home and face their doom. On the other side of the hedge, it's Gladys and the Verminator, who wield tasers and weed hackers, causing the animals to duck for cover in the hedge itself.
The tail's not tingling.
Tail's not tingling. Just like that. Just like like the cult leader, the hypnotist said his little line, and they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll accept RJ back, even though he just tried to kill us."
Absolutely insane.
There's they show when they do the first pan over the suburban skyline, they show these two humongous balloons of a jester and a knight, and then at the end of the movie, those two balloons are what get tangled around the bear to save them from the bear.
Yeah, when we were watching this last
Good
night,
filmmaking.
we saw this Easter egg later, like Rhett was just explaining. We were like, what the hell is that? Because
We had to rewind it like 5 times.
I thought it was just for the filmmakers. Like, I wonder if we can stick these two guys up in the top corner and nobody will even notice it. Because as a child, I never noticed that.
and also for the balloons to stick with helium for that amount of time.
It's impressive.
True.
It's been a whole week, and these things since RJ's been there has been fully blown up, just sitting there.
They got the good stuff.
That is the most unrealistic thing about the whole movie. The helium.
Yeah, at this point, I was out of it. It became too unrealistic for me.
Once I saw that the helium lasted it was like 7 days, bullshit.
We also get a GTA 5 reference in there too, or a GTA reference with the porcupines
What was
crashing.
it
Way
called?
before GTA 5.
Oh, you're right.
What was the name of that
what?
game that they were playing?
Auto Homicide 3.
That's it. It was a Grand Theft Auto 3 reference.
It must have been.
So what would that would have been? San Andreas?
I don't know.
I've only played 5.
Really.
I don't care.
They are stuck, and their only hope lies with the very hyper squirrel, Steve Carell. Pumping him full of the energy drink, and the time around them freezes. And Hammy is sent to turn on the animal traps in the yard, turning it up to the highest setting, which is a bear. Hammy zips across the yard and turns on the security system before making it out of harm's way, tricking the bear in the process. The bear lunges through the hedge and into the yard with humans. The trap closing in on him, the very illegal Depelter Turbo zaps the villains, locking them up in a cage.
I really liked the sound design of Vern's shell being ripped from the bear's mouth.
Also, quick thinking on them to kind of come together and this time to like think of a plan.
They literally had a light bulb
yeah.
moment.
They're smart.
We even saw it with the
The lightning bugs.
lightning bugs.
The police arrive to see the illegal contraband and the two humans, as well as an angry, depelted bear, taking them into custody. Gladys resists arrest and throws a series of karate kicks at her pursuers. Verminator gets away. The animals make their way back to the patch of forest and live happily ever after. Everyone has forgiven RJ, and at least for the time being, can all feast upon Hammy's nuts. The end.
The amount of nuts he probably did that when he was
When he
on
stopped
his super
time.
yeah, because he did the extra stuff and all of that to get the guys to
Cookie.
fall over.
'Cause I like the cookie.
I like the cookie.
Now, when I want to talk about this because I found this very amusing as a kid for some reason when when they got zapped by the 3000 machine or the whatever it's called.
The T Pelter Turbo.
I found it funny how it like dug a whole 20-foot deep hole in the ground, and
It's
they're
like
just
the
like
It was like a
whooshy
nuclear
finger hold.
blast.
It's like the whooshy finger hold.
Nuclear blast.
skadoosh,
The
the whooshy
whooshy
finger.
finger hold. Not the whooshy finger hold.
Oh, you know this hold.
But
You're bluffing. You're bluffing. Shifu didn't teach you that.
now,
Nope. I
since
figured it out.
Skadoosh.
Now, since the movie is done and completed, how would you rate this film?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. All right, you've been having a lot of questions for me. I got one for you. You
for
got
it.
Gladys. You got Stella. You got the Avril Lavigne possum. You got to fuck one, marry one, kill one. Go.
Kill Gladys. Fuck the squirrel and marry the possum.
You dog.
You
You'd have
dog.
sex with animals?
The squirrel. You had sex with Hammy?
You killed Hammy up in there. I know you didn't ask this, but Hammy for sure I'd fuck.
I know he's not in the running.
Bro,
But
could I fuck
I'm gonna throw
Vern?
his hat in the ring.
I mean, Vern's got quite the dumpy in that one scene.
Oh
in the
my
ship.
god.
Jesus
Talking about
Christ.
the male turtle's ass.
What a film. And what a year.
Yeah, good year. There was a weird okay. Phil Collins did Tarzan and Brother Bear.
Yeah, I'm glad we're bringing this up.
Great soundtrack guy, great music. Elton John did Road to El Dorado. Great soundtrack, great
Yeah.
music guy. What the hell was going on with Over the Hedge?
What was his name?
I don't know. But it was this
It
one
was-
guy did all the music and it was weird.
That was one guy in the whole thing?
Yes, he did 3 original songs for that movie.
Might be around. I will say, though,
Rupert Gregson Williams is what
That
it
can't
says.
be it.
That's not right, because it also says Hans Zimmer. And I
think that might be Over the Garden Wall.
I will say, though, DreamWorks has a way of picking unique songs for their soundtracks of their films.
But
like,
they had this guy. He must
Ben
have been,
Folds.
That's it.
Oh, the soundtrack album was done by Ben Folds and William Shatner.
Is it William Shatner's son?
I don't know.
we're just reading off what Google says.
Ben Folds.
And Google is the truth.
Google is truth.
I do like the soundtrack, though, for it being... Granted, it's not a very well-known performer like Phil Collins, but I think the music does fit the movie pretty well because it's a person we don't really quite know, so the music's kind of a bit out there. The characters are all a bit out there animals, and it just seems to kind of fit, you know?
I feel like there were parts in the music where the singer was trying too hard to be cool.
Yeah.
Like he very much, if you hear him, and then if you definitely see him, he's not cool. And I'm not trying to rag on him. I thought he did good for Over the Hedge, but it was a weird choice. You have to admit it.
It was weird.
Like the one part, it's like, I've always got my... Or you guys,
Well,
That's
part
good.
was
The high part.
There's a part where he was like, Shamon. Yeah, my dudes. Like it's like, dude, stop.
It was funny. I thought the music was funny.
Be around.
Conlin's a fan. He's like the music rock.
I actually
Yeah,
don't like
sure.
the slander. Can we please stop and move on from this topic?
What do you rate this movie, Conlin?
I'd say, I mean, not knowing the context of 2006 other films, I think this is probably a good 8.5 to 9.
You're only gonna give it an 8.5 if you erase Monster House and Happy Feet. You're like,
How many stars would you give it out of 5?
Like on Rotten Tomatoes, or just like
Stars.
5 out of 5?
Yes, out of 5 stars.
4.5, 5.
solid twinkler.
This
Yeah.
is- Well, I'm going to read some reviews off of Google for you.
Oh, sweet.
They have a 5-star system.
They do have a 5-star system. Samuel Delgon. Rats and mice eat your dog's food and cat's food and steal your hard-earned birdseed. Rabbits eat your hard-earned veggies garden. Squirrels are a pest when they consume your corn and tomatoes. On the suburbia wars, it's a war zone out there. Humans versus suburban wildlife. Only one will lose and one will win, or both could lose the fight. Why is human-wildlife conflict on the rise? Yeah, it's a war zone out there. As human populations and demand for space continue to grow, people and wildlife are increasingly interacting and competing for resources, which can lead to increased human-wildlife conflict. Human population growth, agricultural intensification, and wealth creation has limited the living space and resources for both humans and animals, creating conflict. Animal eating preferences and migration patterns play a big role in the rivalry. March 3rd, 4 stars.
What the hell is happening?
It's
It's
very...
become apocalyptic out there.
It creates conflict. I was like, is that March 3rd of this year?
4 months ago, yeah. March 3rd.
March
Jesus.
3rd of this.
Right.
You're very behind, sir.
Here's one from 2 years ago by Eric Kuziak. Bismillah, a religious experience for any. My life is complete after watching this film. My wife and kids are back. Great story and characters are very epic. This movie saved my life, and I am naming my daughter Hammy and my son Fern. Thanks to this peak masterpiece of human compatibility. Amen. 5 stars.
Anything else?
Would a Hammy be a girl's name?
It is now.
Samantha.
Samantha.
Here's one. Another one.
Let's
4
call it
months
Steve.
from 4 months ago by Big for School. This movie deserves more recognition. Unfortunately, it was one that just came and went. Just like both of the Nut Job films and The Bad Guys, it's actually genuinely entertaining movie for kids and families. It does an absolutely fantastic job of mixing comedy with action and adventure. RJ the raccoon is very baller, intelligent, cunning, sly, and overall magnificent character. It's a shame that it never got a sequel, especially considering all of the Shrek and Madagascar franchises got. Without a single doubt, this is a movie that is 5 stars material. 5 stars.
It was a shame that this movie never got a sequel. Oh, wait.
Guess what, Big for School?
Guess what, bitch?
We got a sequel for you.
And you're going to get ready to listen to part of it.
This is Over the Hedge 2, Family of None. It has been 2 full years since the wild events unfolded in the El Rancho Camelot housing developments. The wild story, in which animals allegedly stole a vehicle and drove it into a woman's home, have since been a talking point of countless news stations, making its way all the way to the Today Show, where the now disgraced Matt Lauer broke the story. The supposed victim of the animal attack, a woman by the name of Gladys Sharp, was found in possession of illegal weaponry when detained by the proper authorities resisted arrest. In the struggle with the officers, Gladys was witnessed using a karate kick, striking an officer in the head, ultimately causing the constable to fall into a coma. Thoughts and prayers have gone out for the officer who has yet to wake from his injuries. Due to her crimes and her lack of remorse, Gladys was sentenced to death and is currently on death row, awaiting the day for her execution. Her accomplice, a local exterminator, escaped capture and is still at large.
Everything went wrong for the humans, but in the animal kingdom, life couldn't get better. The family of woodland creatures have escaped the enclosed section of the forest in the El Rancho neighborhood, and after its original inhabitant was captured by animal control, they found a nice cave to move into. The cave is perfect, providing shelter from the weather with enough space for every member of the group to spread out and enjoy. And it's within sneaking distance of a fresh suburb. The creatures have not stopped their raids. In fact, they have perfected them. With expert maneuvers and perfect execution, the animals are able to sneak in and out of backyards and houses without a trace. They have become an extreme disturbance in the neighborhood, but the new president of the Homeowners Association, in an effort to avoid following the footsteps of their predecessor, refuses to seek out extermination. Instead, in order to prevent further carnage, the people are urged to make sure that their trash is safely secured. But that is not enough.
RJ's backpack has become a full-on crime satchel, filled with bolt cutters, blowtorches, and lockpicks. The usual crew involves Hammy, who rushes into the house to cut off any security cameras, followed quickly by a new resident, Tiger, who is using his domesticated charm, is able to distract a great deal of residents by simply meowing and playing nice. In fact, most of the time they feed him as a sort of bonus score, as his friends rob them blind. RJ is the mastermind and uses a crew of Stella, the 3 adolescent porcupines, and the Avril Lavigne possum to steal the goods. Vern stays back and uses binoculars as sort of an eye in the sky, and aborts the entire operation if his tail is tingling. It's a solid system and hasn't failed yet.
If the log was still around, they could fill it tenfold before summer's end. Everyone's happy. Everyone is thrilled. That is until they find something that makes Vern's tail tingle more than it has in a long, long time. A storm rolls through the forest. Rain falls heavily. Lightning cracks across the sky. The children and Hammy cower in the back of the cave, waiting for the sun to return. RJ and Vern sit at the cave's mouth as the rain falls beside them. The two of them do their best to get to know one another. But there is clearly a pair of massive brick walls defending the both of them. They brush off one another, attempting to pass the conversation back to the other. Vern asks where RJ came from before he met them. Before the bear. All the raccoon can say through haunted eyes is that he was in a very dark place, and that he is grateful for everything that Vern has done to pull him out. Just as the two share a moment, dawn breaks through the clouds, and the rain begins to retreat.
Walking out of the cave, they see the damage that the storm caused. Fallen trees in the road, worms everywhere, and a very unwelcome mark in the dirt. Originally discovered by Hammy, the entire group stands in a circle around a lone paw print in the mud. Several of the animals have never seen it before, but the look in RJ's eyes can't be good. As the people ask the raccoon what made the track, the words are stolen from his mouth by perhaps an even more disturbed Vern. It's a fox. Sly, cunning, and deadly, foxes have not inhabited this forest in many years. The woodland creatures have never experienced their ferocious behavior. Sure, these animals have evolved to scavenge and steal food, but to a fox, any one of them could be food as well. Upon seeing the paw print, RJ has half a mind to pack his bag and leave. But it is then that he remembers that he is now part of a family, and he will stick with them no matter what.
Calling for a family meeting, RJ proposes that the crew moves away, and to his surprise, Vern agrees with him. With more and more humans moving into the area, as well as the introduction of potential predators, it is not safe to stay where they are. But before they go, they have to pull off one of the final heists, a send-off, to keep them comfortable until they find a new home worth their time and skills. So as the sun sets over the El Rancho development, a platoon of critters descends upon the suburbs.
Hitting house after house and stealing morsel after morsel, the crew fills 6 red flyer wagons full of food. There's only one house left, belonging to an old man named Mortimer. Mortimer lives alone, and after a life of working in a ruckus factory, the man is incredibly hard of hearing. He's an incredibly deep sleeper, and the animals should be able to walk right in and grab as much as they want. Opening the unlocked door and stepping inside, the group enters the house and begin their raid. Vern sits in a tree branch nearby, holding binoculars. As he surveys the house, he suddenly becomes short of breath. RJ, leading the crew, walks past the sliding glass door, his reflection only subtle in the otherwise transparent portal. It is utter darkness outside, with a large bush directly outside the door. But suddenly a pair of horrifying green eyes open between the leaves of the bush. RJ, speechless, turns to see the eyes and stammering, unable to speak, he seems to be caught in a state of hypnosis. Fox!
Vern's scream can be heard through RJ's radio. The pandemonium ensues within. They drop boxes of food, a jar of pickles smashes on the floor. People are scared. And as Vern looks through the binoculars, he can no longer see the eyes of the fox. But there is something else missing from the picture. Mortimer, the old man, is no longer asleep in his reclining chair. RJ, struggling to breathe, holds his beating heart, backing up against the wall. He sees the green eyes and flashes of memory. An orange tail, a puddle of blood, a hand ripped from his own. He's only pulled out of this meltdown by the hands of Hammy, grabbing him by the face and screaming that they have to go. But it's too late.
Stepping out into the kitchen, Mortimer totes a large shotgun and aims directly at the pair. RJ reactively tackles Hammy to the ground as the slug shatters the sliding door behind them. The old man lets out a few curses as he looks for more animals. We see from his point of view, which is incredibly unfocused and filled with cataracts. He staggers around as the animals silently hide, separated by a kitchen island and a homicidal old man. One half of the group is forced to make their escape through a nearby window, the other half waiting for RJ to make a move, seemingly counting their final moments as Mortimer makes his way towards them. Finally, through the haze of age, the old man can see the outline of a porcupine. Taking aim, his arthritis-plagued fingers curl around the trigger before the sound of a strange yipping can be heard outside. Looking out the window, Mortimer turns his attention away just in time for a voice from outside to beckon the trapped animal. "Come on!" The unfamiliar female voice cries, grabbing RJ by the hand. Stella, William Shatner, one of the hedgehogs, and Hammy make their way outside, Mortimer lurching back and opening fire right where they just were standing.
Vern and the other half of the crew make their way out of the yard as the wail of police sirens are heard. As Vern looks back, he sees something that leaves him speechless. Sitting on the roof of the house, casually smoking a cigarette, is a large male fox laughing as he sees the group of animals running. He makes eye contact with Vern, and through the scars across his face, he shoots the turtle a wink. The second half of the family rushes into the forest and are met with the embrace of a group of creatures, a few beavers, a mink, and a beautiful female fox by the name of Luna. And as she looks to RJ, it is clear that there is some sort of history. But before she can say his name, the male fox enters the bush. RJ is filled with a terror that he has not experienced in many moons, but he does his best not to show it. Before the fox can look to RJ, and most likely know who it is, the police lights illuminate the bush, causing the group to make an exit.
The next morning, Vern and the rest of the group sits at the mouth of their cave in silence. There are 4 of the 5 hedgehogs, Tiger the house cat, and Heather the possum. Worry washes over them as they all ask one another what they should do, where the other animals could have gone, and what the fox could possibly do to them. But most of all, they ask what they are going to do, and the burden of decision truly falls on the shoulders of an incredibly stressed Vern. The truth is, he doesn't know what to do. Last time this happened, he simply ran. Last time.
Meanwhile, somewhere deep in the forest, RJ and the rest of the group have made it to an unfamiliar pond. There are several holes in the tree trunk apartments for all the animals, as well as a large beaver apartment in the water. The group are amazed by the civilization they have here, but till Jackson, the big scary fox, decides what to do with him, he sends them all to a prison-like cell. As Luna locks them away, she pulls RJ out of the cell and pulls him into a dark corner of the dungeon.
She tells him that they don't have much time and that they need to get out of there as soon as possible. RJ is dumbfounded. He hasn't seen Luna in so long. It's as if he is seeing a ghost. He grabs her paw and tells her that he has missed her, to which she coldly replies that he must go by a different name. Jackson cannot know that this is RJ, or else he will kill every last animal in that cell.
After a lot of work to figure out the computer in his house, Mortimer was able to find the website he was looking for, the link to services provided by independent exterminators, and coming to his door sporting a brand new incognito mustache is none other than Dwayne LaFont, aka the Verminator. And sitting on the man's couch eating a butterscotch candy, Dwayne asks what kind of infestation they're dealing with here on the property, to which Mortimer says, "Fox."
Dad? Dad? The voice of a baby turtle beckons Vern out of his shell. The turtle is clearly Vern's daughter, and the small reptile smiles at her father with a gleam of hope in her eye. "Were you having a bad dream, Daddy?" she asks, to which Vern replies, "Yes." Peeking around the corner of their home is a lady turtle, who clearly is Vern's wife. She wears a large straw hat and smiles as well. The 3 of them exit their home and set up a picnic beside the beautiful pond. A pond reminiscent of something where they've seen already. A pond reminiscent of what we've seen already. Vern holds his wife's hand and the 2 of them stare off over the sunset. As the sun goes down and the darkness overtakes the forest, the family prepares to do what they do on most summer nights, which is capture fireflies. But Vern's wife forgot the jar, so Vern stands and makes his way down the hill, back towards his house. His daughter cries, asking for a hug from her dad, to which Vern says he'll only be a minute, and will give them a hug when he gets back. By the time Vern returns to the pond, however, he's met with shock. letting the jar fall from his hand as the glass shatters on the rocks beneath his feet. Vern falls to his knees and lets out a loud scream, grabbing onto a pile of orange fur as he sees a pair of shells beside the water, empty and stained with blood. The sound of yipping and laughing echoes through the trees as Vern jolts awake.
Laying in the cave, the reptile is covered in a thick dew, tears rolling down his scaly face. The other animals look at him, confused and alarmed. Vern tries to brush it off, but it seems in his sleep he was crying out someone's name, the name of his daughter, Veronica. It was time for Vern to come clean. He had always told the people that he had come from across the highway, and that he never really had a family, but that wasn't true. He finally tells everyone about his wife, his daughter, and the fox that took them away from him. Surprised by the fact that he was able to live such a life before he ever met them, Vern reveals that he is also much older than they had previously thought. He's over 80 years old.
Going by Hubert, RJ is doing his best to be inconspicuous. The animals have been let out of the prison, but the leader, Jackson, has put them all to work. Working on a chain gang, the crew is doing a bit of forest work, using axes and picks to break and chop. They work the day away. The family has caught on to the way Luna and RJ behave around one another, and the fact that he is going by an alias is proof enough that something is going on between the raccoon and these foxes. So RJ is forced to fill them in.
Before he met the family, RJ was a full-on outlaw, rolling with a group of predators. He was less of a burglar and more of a robber. Capturing prey animals, RJ and his friends would give the creatures an option: their food or their life. It was a bluff. They never actually had the heart to kill anyone. However, soon a fox by the name of Jackson joined the group, and unlike the rest of the gang, Jackson wasn't afraid to get his paws dirty. He was ferocious and terrifying, and would ransack people for all they were worth, taking every scrap of food and possessions they could ever hope to have. It was brutal, but despite disagreeing with the fox's methods, RJ put up with the horrors because he was in love with the fox's sister.
Nice, warm, and just trying to survive, Luna was nothing like her brother, and she and RJ often talked about running away together. But that day came sooner for one of them than it did for the other. Stalking this very pond, Jackson spotted a pair of turtles sitting by the water, a mother and a daughter. RJ saw the innocence on their faces and declined. Robbing them. The two of them briefly fought, the fox lunging at RJ and attempting to rip into his neck, but using his backpack of tools, RJ pulled a glass bottle out in the nick of time. As the fox bit down, the glass shattered, chunks of shrapnel digging into various areas of the animal's face. Rushing off into the night, RJ grabbed Luna by the hand, attempting to run away with her, but Luna refused to move, pulling her hand from RJ's. She chose her brother, and seeing the truth, RJ decided to leave everything behind.
He never knew what happened after that, but clearly the fox has been able to eat his fill until now. One of the pieces of glass entered the fox's eye, and now Jackson is partially blind, wearing a patch over his injured eye. Perhaps this is why he is unable to identify the raccoon. Go with it. Vern and company decide that enough is enough. Vern has had enough of his family ripped from his clutches by the maw of a fox. Maybe it's time for the bill to come due. It doesn't matter if he dies in the process. It's time for the turtle to right his own wrongs and avenge the death of his family. So arming himself with a stick, the turtle and his friends march into the forest. Making their way towards the pond, Vern is filled with a collage of bad memories, which only fuel him further. They tread on.
As the creatures work, Jackson the fox has arrived to gaze upon the workers with his good eye. The raccoon looks familiar. Uh-oh, RJ's been compromised. Jackson suddenly realizes who he is looking at, and he demands his sister to release him. The sister begs him to show mercy, but Jackson uses his claws to scratch his sister in the face. She whimpers and RJ grits his teeth. Luna unlocks the raccoon, and before Jackson can react, RJ lunges at him, tackling him to the ground. A few minks and beavers look to one another and move to stop the fight, but they all stop one another. Jackson is an asshole. Let them fight.
The battle starts off even, with RJ throwing a series of good strikes into the fox's face. The fox, with razor-sharp teeth, rips into RJ's arm, pulling a series of tendons from the raccoon. RJ falls to the ground, his arm unable to move. The fox stands over top of him, lifting him up by his pelt, when suddenly, from the blind side of his head, a sharp stick flies through the air and strikes the fox in the head. Vern has arrived. The camp is under attack.
The fox's friends and lackeys feel the need to step in. Charging into the fray, Vern and company begin their assault, striking and clawing the animals. Luna, holding her bloody face, unlocks the other animals, allowing them to join the fight. As she sees the chaos caused by her brother, she realizes once and for all the error of her ways, and decides that she should have run away. And, turning into the forest, she decides to make a run for it now, only to be stopped dead in her tracks, caught in a net. She writhes on the ground and snared by none other than the Verminator, who lets out a maniacal laugh.
The animals continue their fight, and Vern now sees that the fox and RJ know each other. It's clear through their mid-fight dialogue. Could RJ have known what the fox did? If they were friends, could RJ have helped them? Before Vern can ask, however, he sees the boots of the Verminator charging towards them. There's no time to hold grudges. The fox pulls back, baring his teeth, powering up a bite at the raccoon, who he has pinned to the ground. Vern calls out for RJ, throwing the raccoon his shell.
Before the fox can bite into his furry flesh, RJ catches the shell, forcing it down over the creature's snout. Kicking in Jackson's knee, the fox whimpers as it falls to the ground. What Vern doesn't see is the mink on the ground behind him. Grabbing a sharp stick, the creature reaches up in one final blow and impales the turtle from behind. Vern lets out a painful exhale as the air escapes through the new hole in his back. Falling out of the way, Vern collapses just in time to avoid the boot of the Verminator, who mindlessly stomps on the mink, crunching him as he charges towards the fox. Reloading his net gun, he fires it at the fox, capturing it in the net. The Verminator has still got it.
As he wrangles the fox, RJ calls for his family to get out of here. Back to the cave. He doesn't see Vern until the cold reptilian hand grabs his ankle. RJ sees the turtle, naked, shellless, and blood pouring into a puddle on the ground beneath him. It doesn't look good. RJ grabs his friend and carries him out of the forest. They make it to the cave, the entire family safe. They hear a pair of gunshots ringing out throughout the forest air, perhaps belonging to a pair of foxes that were left behind. Vern is laid on the floor of the cave. RJ calls for leaves to stop the bleeding and for everyone to find bandages and medicine in the cave. Vern sees his family, everyone that has survived because he made a stand. He did everything he should have done all those years ago. And even though RJ started bad, this raccoon is now part of the family. And as he holds the creature's masked face, he tells him that he's going to be a great leader. A tear falls down RJ's face as he holds the reptile's hand. "You're going to be okay," he tells Vern as the 80-year-old turtle smiles back at him. Finally, Vern's hand lets go of RJ's face. Slowly falling to the floor, the turtle closes his eyes.
Dad? Dad?
The voice of a baby turtle beckons Vern out of his shell. The turtle is clearly Vern's daughter, and the small reptile smiles at her father with a gleam of hope in her eye. "Were you having a bad dream, Daddy?" she asks. Around the corner, Vern's wife emerges, the sun of the day shining on them all. Vern smiles, a tear falling down to his face, replying to his daughter's question. "Not anymore."
That'll do.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
So that's how it ends, is with him dying and going to heaven.
That's right, yeah.
He gets to live out the day that his family was killed.
That's right. Well, no, now they're not. They're just dead, all of them.
You know, I kind of like that, actually.
Conlin, you didn't know any of this going into the script, right? Like into the story, right?
I knew nothing of the part 2.
We didn't cover that before we jumped in.
Yeah, Conlin, this is a blind read for Conlin. I did not know. I knew what was going to happen, but I didn't know that this is how it ended either. So I'm a little shocked.
A family of none.
I'm shocked at the ending, but I definitely enjoyed this baseline and like overall arching story of Over the Hedge 2.
Thank you.
So Luna gets shot and killed by the Verminator.
Bro, she's Jake Spoon.
Yeah, you ride with the outlaws,
you die with the outlaws. Yeah.
Would you have a happy ending for the rest of the animals, or would Verminator just get everybody?
They got away from
They got away.
Verminator.
They got to the cave. Verminator was only there for the foxes.
Yeah, didn't you see him accidentally? He crushed a mink walking by because he was hunting a fox.
Fuck that mink.
Well, if you knew those were the other animals before, wouldn't you go after it?
Reptile.
Just a thought. But I like it. Very dark.
My sequels have no holes. They're all logic driven. I reject that. We're gonna cut it.
What?
What Conlin
What
said.
he just said, yeah. All right, we're gonna.
And
do
now a
this.
scene.
From NBC News, this is Today with Matt Lauer and Meredith Vieira, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza. Light music plays as we see interior newsroom morning. Matt Lauer sits at a desk beside Meredith Vieira.
Good morning and welcome to Today. I'm Matt Lauer.
And I'm Meredith Vieira. And there is a lot going on today, folks.
You can say that again, babe. There's a story that's been moving its way across the United States because it seems a little too good to be true.
That's right, Matt. Gladys Sharp, a woman from suburban Indiana, claims that her house was destroyed by animals.
She alleges that a group of woodland creatures stole an automobile and crashed it into the side of her house.
But the authorities can't help to believe that it's a little too good to be true.
The sexy piece of ass was placed under arrest for illegal and inhumane animal traps and, in the struggle with police, struck a man so hard that she put him in a coma.
The officer's family is patiently awaiting for his condition to get better, but no progress has been made thus far. Now, over to Al Walker for the weather.
There's a pause as they smile at the camera.
You know, I wouldn't mind to see you in a pair of handcuffs, eh, Meredith?
Al, are you there?
I've got a pair on my desk. You just gotta say the word.
Well, it appears we're unable to reach Al, but your local weather will be right back after these messages.